Meat has been a staple in our diets for centuries, providing essential nutrients and playing a central role in many cultural traditions. But is it still as healthy and safe to eat today as it once was? With the rise of industrial farming, many are beginning to question the quality and safety of the meat we consume. This is a question that more and more people are asking as we learn about the realities of modern meat production. The information available today is prompting a deeper look into how our meat is produced. Industrial farming practices have transformed the way animals are raised and processed, introducing a host of hidden dangers that end up on our plates. These practices prioritize efficiency and profit over animal welfare and food safety. From the widespread use of antibiotics and hormones, which can lead to antibiotic resistance and other health issues, to the contamination of meat with environmental toxins, including pesticides and heavy metals, the modern meat industry poses significant risks to both human health and the environment. The impact of these practices extends beyond our plates, affecting ecosystems and communities. In an era of factory farms and mass production, it's crucial to examine what's really in our food and the potential consequences of our dietary choices. Understanding these impacts can help us make more informed decisions. The way we produce meat today is a far cry from the traditional methods of raising livestock on pasture. The shift from small-scale farms to large industrial operations has changed the landscape of meat production. The images of happy cows grazing in open fields are often misleading, replaced by the harsh reality of industrial farms. These images create a false sense of security about the origins of our food. It's time to confront the hidden dangers of modern meat and consider the true cost of what's on our plates. By being more aware, we can push for changes that lead to healthier and more sustainable food systems. The industrialization of meat production has led to the rise of factory farms, also known as concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs. These large-scale facilities house thousands, sometimes even millions of animals in confined spaces. The goal of CAFOs is to maximize production and minimize costs, often at the expense of animal welfare and environmental sustainability. Animals in these facilities are treated more like commodities than living creatures, subjected to crowded and unsanitary conditions. To prevent outbreaks in these crowded and unsanitary environments, farmers routinely administer antibiotics to their livestock, even when they show no signs of illness. The overuse of antibiotics in factory farms is a major contributor to the growing problem of antibiotic resistance. The pursuit of cheap and abundant meat has led to a system that prioritizes profit over the well-being of animals, the environment, and ultimately, our own health. The overuse of antibiotics in industrial farming is a growing concern that cannot be ignored. It is one of the most pressing public health concerns of our time, affecting millions of lives globally. The World Health Organization has identified antibiotic resistance as one of the biggest threats to global health, food security, and development today. This issue is not just a future threat, it is happening right now. When bacteria develop resistance to antibiotics, it means that the drugs we rely on to treat infections are no longer effective. This can lead to longer hospital stays, higher medical costs, and increased mortality. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that at least 2.8 million people in the United States get an antibiotic-resistant infection each year, a staggering number that continues to grow, and more than 35,000 people die as a result. These numbers highlight the urgent need for action. The connection between antibiotic use in livestock and antibiotic resistance in humans is well established. This practice contributes significantly to the problem. When antibiotics are used on farms, resistant bacteria can spread through various pathways, including direct contact and environmental contamination. Manure from farms can contain resistant bacteria that can leach into groundwater and contaminate crops. This contamination can then make its way into our food supply. Addressing antibiotic resistance requires a multifaceted approach, involving coordinated efforts from healthcare providers, policymakers, and the agricultural sector, including reducing the unnecessary use of antibiotics in both human and animal medicine. Only through collective action can we hope to mitigate this growing threat. In addition to antibiotics, hormones are another class of drugs routinely used in industrial meat production. Growth hormones are often given to livestock to accelerate their growth and increase their muscle mass. However, the use of growth hormones in livestock has raised concerns about potential health risks for consumers. One of the primary concerns is the potential for hormone residues to remain in meat products. These effects may include early puberty in girls, reproductive problems in men, and an increased risk of certain types of cancer. The European Union has banned the use of growth hormones in livestock production due to these concerns. Reducing or eliminating the use of growth hormones in livestock production is a step towards ensuring the safety of our food supply. Industrial farming generates an enormous amount of waste, posing significant environmental challenges. Factory farms produce vast quantities of manure, wastewater, and dead animals, which can contaminate water resources, pollute the air, and contribute to climate change. Manure from factory farms contains high levels of nitrogen and phosphorus, nutrients that can contribute to water pollution. When manure enters waterways through runoff or leaching, it can lead to eutrophication, a process where excess nutrients cause an overgrowth of algae. The decomposition of manure also releases methane, a potent greenhouse gas that contributes to climate change. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates that agriculture is responsible for about 10% of total U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, with livestock manure management being a significant contributor. Finding sustainable solutions for managing the waste generated by industrial farming is crucial for protecting human health and the environment. The journey of meat from factory farm to our plates involves a complex chain of processing and packaging, often introducing additional chemicals into our food. While some of these chemicals are used to ensure food safety, others are added to enhance flavor, improve texture, or extend shelf life. One common practice is the use of nitrates and nitrites, which are added to processed meats like bacon, sausage, and deli meats to inhibit bacterial growth and preserve their reddish-pink color. However, when nitrates and nitrites are consumed, they can be converted into nitrosamines in the body. Nitrosamines are classified as probable human carcinogens, meaning they have been linked to an increased risk of cancer. The use of chemicals in meat processing is a complex issue with potential implications for human health. Reducing our consumption of processed meats and opting for minimally processed whole foods is a prudent approach to minimize our exposure to potentially harmful substances. Numerous studies have linked the consumption of red meat, particularly processed meats, to an increased risk of chronic diseases, including heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain types of cancer. These findings have been consistent across various populations and age groups, highlighting the widespread impact of dietary choices on health. The World Health Organization classifies processed meats as carcinogenic to humans, meaning there is sufficient evidence that they can cause cancer. This classification places processed meats in the same category as tobacco and asbestos, underscoring the severity of the risk. Red meat is classified as probably carcinogenic to humans, meaning there is strong but not conclusive evidence linking it to cancer. This suggests that while the evidence is compelling, more research is needed to fully understand the relationship. One of the main mechanisms by which red meat may increase the risk of chronic diseases is through its high content of saturated fat and cholesterol. These components can have detrimental effects on cardiovascular health. Saturated fat can raise LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, which can build up in arteries and increase the risk of heart disease. Elevated LDL levels are a well-known risk factor for heart attacks and strokes. Another concern is the formation of heterocyclic amines, or HCAs, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs, during the cooking of meat at high temperatures, such as grilling, barbecuing, and frying. These compounds have been shown to be mutagenic, meaning they can cause changes in DNA that may increase cancer risk. Reducing our consumption of red and processed meats, especially those cooked at high temperatures, is a simple yet effective way to lower our risk of chronic diseases. Opting for healthier protein sources such as fish, poultry, beans, and legumes can make a significant difference in our overall health. The environmental impact of meat production is another major concern. Livestock production is a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, deforestation, and water pollution. The demand for meat is driving the expansion of agricultural land, leading to the clearing of forests, which are important carbon sinks that help regulate the climate. The production of meat is also highly water-intensive. It takes thousands of gallons of water to produce just 1 pound of beef, far more than what is required to produce plant-based protein sources. Beyond the environmental impacts, there are also ethical concerns surrounding the treatment of animals in industrial farming systems. Reducing our consumption of animal products is a step towards aligning our values with our actions and promoting a more compassionate and sustainable food system. The evidence is clear. The way we produce and consume meat today is simply not sustainable. The hidden dangers lurking within modern meat pose significant risks to our health, the environment, and animal welfare. From the overuse of antibiotics to the contamination of our food and water with industrial waste, the consequences of our dietary choices are far-reaching. Reducing our consumption of meat, particularly red and processed meats, is a crucial step in the right direction. By embracing plant-based protein sources such as beans, lentils, tofu, and tempeh, we can significantly reduce our environmental footprint and improve our health. Choosing meat from farms that prioritize animal welfare and environmental sustainability is another important step. The future of food depends on our willingness to make conscious choices about what we eat. Let's make choices that align with our values and create a brighter future for generations to come.